Hi, my name is Ayman Aitani, and I'm talking today about the movie The Social Dilemma. If you've seen it on Netflix, it has to do with how we use social media every day and how that affects our attention span, how that affects how we do work, how we interact personally with others. So that's the area that I'm going to be covering today in our topic. So we're looking at around half an hour together almost, and I'll be covering the key topics. So, and any questions that you might have on digital and social and business growth, I'm happy to answer your questions on Instagram. Next week as well, at the same time, so 1 p.m. UAE, I'll be talking more about practical tips for reducing digital notifications. So the same thing that we're talking about today about how it affects you as a person. The next week is going to be much more practical in terms of what are settings and things that we could look at together. So it's going to be a little bit more interactive, where we look at integrating together the settings and notifications. This is the URL for sharing. Now, if you've seen The Social Dilemma, it's on Netflix. It's a very popular movie, and the focus is about how former employees of Facebook and Google and Instagram and Twitter and Pinterest and others, they talk about how what they've been doing for making sure that we give attention as users and consumers into the social network. So one of the key things to keep in mind is when you're listening or reading about anything related to feedback from former employees. So a lot of the input came from former employees. So anything with former employees, always look at it with a certain filter, but it's a great conversation starter. So half an hour into the movie, I've written down 12 pages of notes and thoughts and things related to our consumption. So it's a great conversation starter for discussions like this, like the one we're having, or with friends and family or coworkers. And I'll also have been asked to comment on this on a few media entities as well, due to this being a hot topic. Now, one area I want to focus on is the massive positive benefits of social. Because a lot of the movies and the discussion around the movie is about the negative effect of social media. I want to talk about the extensive positive benefits of social media. They're not highlighted enough, neither in this movie or in other movies, or on TV interviews that I'm on, or in discussions over dinner with friends. It's always the negative part. I want to highlight the massive positive benefits that I summarize into three key groups: reputation, information access, and self-expression. So with reputation, people know who you are from social media, whatever you are, a photographer, video writer, editor, journalist, whatever it is. You're able to build a reputation that can get you a job offer, projects, contracts, and so on, without having the traditional upbringing. I share with you more from my personal experience. So I'm looking at Twitter from 2008 to 2012, around Lebanon and Dubai. And the Twitter community was an initial seed for open social media communication. And we used to have something called tweet-ups, where we get together with members of Twitter we interact with online. We get together in a restaurant or a coffee shop where we talk. Every time I look around me at the table, I see people who don't fit the default, the most common aspect of what a photographer is, or journalist is, or a teacher is, or a designer is. They don't have the typical education. They don't have the typical community background. They don't have the typical network or family relationships or the financial background. Yet they've been able to, they're very well known in their community. They've been able to get job offers for full-time employment or part-time employment or a freelance work or consulting job or whatever it is. They're heavily sought after, all because of them being super active on social in their area of specialty and sharing that information and so on. That would not have been possible without social. So that reputation aspect is definitely a very big deal when it comes to a positive aspect of social. Another aspect is information access. Anything you want, anything of interest to you, you can find now or historically. For example, I met somebody, she's an artist. She called herself a water designer. And I asked her, do you mean watercolors? She said, no, I'm inspired by water and nature, and my drawings are based on that. and she has a big community around her. She sells products related to this and so on. So that's a very specific thing that she was able to find her room there. I know other people who are leaving their day jobs. They're selling ants. This aspect ties to self-expression. The third aspect of this. You know how much fun, how much they've been made fun of by their community and friends, or judged, at least judged privately, for being a nature artist or an ant farm person, especially if you're living in a conservative society. So that form of self-expression is definitely something that you can only get through digital and social. So those three aspects of reputation and information access and self-expression are definitely one of the positive aspects of social to highlight. Another aspect of the movie that they focused on is trading attention and making money from trading attention. So a company making money is not evil. All countries, whether they're capitalist or not, they've been built for businesses to make money off of it. They've been doing this since the dawn of time. Even before creation of currency, we used to exchange livestock for cotton and meat and dye and cloth and things like this. So we've always had ways of doing business, and so that's not evil. And also the monetization aspect of social via ads is not different than monetizing on TV or on the radio. So a lot of the discussions is around how is Instagram making money off of my attention and my ads? Why is Facebook or TikTok making money off of this? It's the same way that TV has always done this, or radio has always done this, where our attention that's given to those channels is being monetized. So attention is expensive. So the key concept of everything in the movie and through the discussion on why social media is problematic or not is attention. So attention is expensive, and everyone wants it from you. Forget social media. Your kids want it from you. Your partner in your relationship, your boss, your colleagues. Everybody wants your attention. I look at it with my kids. It's for me, the recipe to parenting is quite simple. It's mostly attention. There is no secret sauce around this or anything else. It's attention. So giving them the time they need. Looking at them when they want to show me that they're doing something. When they're telling me one of their stories, laughing or commenting at certain points in time, that's attention. Very simple, straightforward. Our partners, our plus one, our relationship that you're in, whether you're committed or not, a lot of the relationship problems come from lack of attention. One of the sides does not give enough attention, and that leads to behavior that is unwarranted, and then it snowballs into a problematic relationship. That also has to do with attention. So that attention aspect is what all of the discussions are around. So looking at the privacy aspect of the work, all of the social networks, they're technology and they're empty. We feed them with content. We feed them with everything from our side. Even personally, every now and then I go through phases where, I want to turn off everything and disconnect and delete everything and so on. So those are phases that we go through. But at the end, the content we consume or that we generate and we fill in these pipes are content that we've chosen, the things that we've done. So it's very important to look at it from that perspective. So if you're to engage on social, you have to keep in mind that everything you do on social media, even stalking an X or looking at content, any content that you look at, is being monitored, is being used to profile you, is being used to shape the experience that you have, and can very likely be public in one way or another. So always keep in mind that everything you do on social, keep in the back of your mind that it's public. So am I okay with my boss seeing this? I'm okay with my partner seeing this, my kids, my investors, my grandma. So am I okay with all of this? That's the type of behavior that is looked at in terms of social. That will address the privacy aspect of this. Now, since we're dealing with attention and the key topics of attention, what I'm looking to talk about more is what we can do. So these are things that have helped me personally, and I'm going to share with you a little bit more about what we can do in terms of the attention span. So turning off data is one. I'll talk more about that. The unplug box is another. Customizing notifications is a third, and keeping the eye on the time that we spend inside these apps. So one of the things that's been working for me is, so I have young kids that demand my attention. And like many parents, work consumes a lot of that attention, time away from family. So what I've been trying to do with my kids, and that has been helping me, and I'm sharing that with you, is I spend some time with them with my data off, meaning that my phone is not silent, it's on, but my data is off. So that means the notification interruptions that I have, they're not many, and they don't interrupt the time that I'm spending with them. This way, I've been able to give them more intensive, higher quality ones. So shorter time, higher quality. This is what busy parents hide behind. We talk about quality, not quantity. We're looking at shorter amounts of time and higher intensity, as in they're very intensive when I spend my time with them on that. So with my data off, and it's temporary, right? It's not like I'm spending with them, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours nonstop continuously with them. There are usually bursts here and there, which is typical of a busy parent. So that aspect, when I turn off my data for shortly, that has helped. And then when they're busy with something else, or I can step out and do something, I turn on my data, a bunch of notifications come back in, and I keep myself up to date with whatever I need to action on. Another thing I've seen that might work if you have older kids, and if you have trouble getting people to really focus with you at home, is having a box. So it's an unplugged box. It's at the entrance of the house. The same way where you walk into your home, you take off your shoes and you come in, or you put your keys on your table and you come in. This is similar, where you silence your phone and you put this in this box. When you put those in the box, that's when you go in and you focus with family for a while, and then the box is unplugged, and then the rest of the family can go back to their devices. One thing I've noticed on a personal level, I haven't implemented the unplugged box, but I've seen myself many times. I'm standing right outside the door of my house. I'm on my phone trying to wrap up a few things. Sometimes I've spent like 15 minutes. I'm carrying like my computer in my hand and my phone, and I'm trying to finish things so that when I walk in home, I walk in with less interruptions. I know that my mind is clear, and I can spend at least over the next 45 minutes to an hour, maybe to focus on them, but it's usually within the 45 minutes aspects of this. So that unplugging aspect definitely helps. The customizing notifications part, so that is tricky, and that takes a lot of time. That takes a lot of time. So with this, what you would do is you'd look at, so this types of notifications. You have notifications that you turn off completely. You have notifications that you reduce. You have notifications that you keep, but you keep them silently, all right? So one of the notifications that you turn off completely, so audit your phone. So that took me a lot of time. So what I had in mind is I wanted to be interrupted with notifications with things I really care about, which is an email from a specific client or a colleague, or a type of notification from social. It's a comment. So I like, a share, no, but a comment, yes, because I want to engage on that. News, when it comes to news, for example, I've turned off many of those, and I've had only a specific subcategory, something very specific of interest. And you can turn some of them off completely. So some of them I just turn them off completely. I check them every now and then. Others I reduce, which is news, and others, and I've seen this done where you do it silently. So it doesn't vibrate. My phone doesn't vibrate. It doesn't beep, but it's there. So whenever I check it later on, I see it. So this notification. So I've done this in rounds. So I do the first rounds where I modify a bunch of stuff, and then I look at it again, saying, okay, I'm being interrupted more and more. What are the ones that I get interrupted for? Yes, I want to be interrupted for a reminder for a call or a meeting or something along those lines in my calendar. I want to be on WhatsApp. In the next week's session, we're going to talk specifically about WhatsApp. We'll be doing a lot of things in groups. We'll be doing a lot of things on how we're doing many different things, and also when it comes to how we handle groups and media and things like this. So yeah, there's a lot to be done there, and I'll be covering a lot more of that next week. Thank you, Khalid. Thank you, Khalid. I see the comments on social. Thank you, Khalid, and I'll catch up with you soon, and I'll make sure to send this to you. Another aspect has to do with auditing the time. So I think the time that we spend or kids spend, most devices, or whether they're Android or iOS, they have in their iOS updates, they have visibility on this. So I wouldn't go as far to say that you should stop, set an app limit that kicks you out. I wouldn't go as far as that. The first step would be audit. Look at how much time you spend. How much time you spend on what? So I used to think that I used to spend a lot of time on Instagram. I do not spend as much time on Instagram as I thought, which is good, psychologically at least. And then, but there are other apps that I spend so much more time on than I thought I would, and I want to reduce those. And I've also went further. I've used third-party tools. I'll recommend one of them, where I look at how many times I've used devices. So, for example, I've realized that I check my inbox on average 81 times a day. 81 times a day. What am I doing? What type of service am I in? What could possibly go wrong for me to eat 3 times a day, maybe 5 times a day, yet check my inbox 81 times a day? So that is an aspect. That visibility part gives you the consciousness saying, you know what, there's something wrong here. So that's an aspect to look at. App limits and things like this, we covered this. And rescue time is one of the tools I've used on the phone and on the computer. I don't keep it on for a long period of time. I use it for a certain period to identify what are areas that I'm looking at to improve. So I audited how much time I spend on certain apps, on certain topics, on certain browser windows, and how long I do, and so on. Based on that, I can also set time. So, for example, within their tool, I remember I wanted to reduce the amount of calls I do. That was pre-COVID. I want to reduce the amount of calls I do, and then I configured the tool to say that calls are unproductive. And then I like the alerts that they said, are you sure? Most people have calls as a productive aspect. I was like, yes, I know what I'm doing. Just put this as unproductive for me. Obviously, now post-COVID, that doesn't work, but you could really customize things here for that. Google is experimenting with a couple of things here. I'll go through the video together because it makes sense to see what they're experimenting with, because this gives you a preview of what is coming ahead for us as digital consumers who are decimating their attention across thousands of different things.
Technology plays a big part in our lives, and our phones give us access to it anytime, anywhere. But great technology should improve life, not distract from it. And because we all have different relationships with our phones, we came up with a range of ideas to help people find a balance that's right for them. Like Postbox, an experimental app which minimizes distractions by holding your notifications until a time that suits you. Desert Island helps you find focus. Challenge yourself to go a day with only your essential apps. Or Morph, which adapts your phone to what you're doing, giving you just the right apps at just the right time. And WeFlip enables you to switch off from technology as a group to spend quality time together. Introducing Digital Wellbeing Experiments, a platform to share ideas and tools that help people find a better balance with technology. Try the experiments and create your own. Together, we'll learn how to build better technology for everyone.
I'll be covering these tools in next week's topic. I came across this magazine in an airport. I was walking through to my gate. That was 2016, and it stuck with me. And the focus was about tech and relationships. And on this note, I miss traveling. I haven't, obviously with COVID and so on, I haven't traveled for a while. I used to travel every month. So this experience of walking through, I always walk through an airport and I look at the magazine rack, and while I'm speed walking, and yes, that's one of many things. Now, one of the things, there was a quote from the magazine which I'll read out, just to give an idea about how invasive the tools are and how we need to be conscious about that. So, for example, here somebody says from the magazine, the way him and his wife used to wind down before bed is to look at Facebook. So the way his wife winds down before bed is to look at Facebook. And obviously this is 2016, so if it was today, it would have been Instagram, TikTok, or something else. That's such an important important time for talking and sharing the moments of the day, and for intimacy, physical and otherwise. She says, just ask me and I'll put it away, but it doesn't feel very satisfying. So, and also, technology is like a third party in the relationship. His only consolation is a suspicion that couples everywhere are running with this problem, and I'm sure they are. So, and again, this is from 2016, and you know, I don't see it changing. Sleep and wake up habits. So many articles and videos tell you that you should not check your phone the first thing in the morning. It should not be the last thing you see before you sleep. It's very difficult to do that. Super, super difficult. It took me forever to not check my phone first thing in the morning, and I still do every now and then. At night before I sleep, it's still the last thing I do before I sleep. Again, that's a work in progress. The reason the morning one that I've been able to stop is many times where I'm happy about the time I woke up, and then I check my phone, and then the next time I check the clock, it's an hour and a half, an hour at least, where it's gone by. I'm still in bed. I'm just going through email and notifications from last night. So that is an aspect where I've been able to be better at in terms of not checking my phone in the morning, but the evening one is something I haven't been able to stop yet. And feeble attempts to be more productive in the morning takes a lot of work, a lot of work. So I shared this on LinkedIn a couple of days ago about how I was curious to see how others are able to wake up at 5 a.m. And many people commented and shared on their productivity tips and tricks. And it's very difficult, very difficult. So what I'm trying to tell you is all of us are trying to struggle with attention and trying to be more available to do work. All right, so to summarize, social media is not that evil as is portrayed. The notification, the attention aspect is very, very important. And that's something that our spouses, our partners, our plus ones, our kids, our bosses, our colleagues, everybody is asking for our attention in addition to social. So that's why we're going to have to look at how better to customize it. That's why next week I'm covering this topic about how to reduce your notifications when it comes to that, with hands-on recommendations for that. And there is a massive upside to digital and social if you're able to use it in a certain way that helps you beyond just pure consumption. And I am looking forward to answering your questions. If you want to DM me on Instagram or TikTok or whatever works better for you. And I'll be discussing this topic next week on Monday at 1 p.m. UAE. Thank you for joining me today. I look forward to answering any questions you might send my way later. Thanks. Bye.